Welcome. The video of this meeting is streamed on YouTube and can be found through the Village's Facebook page and website. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Clerk Saladino to call the roll.
Trustee Augustine.
Here.
Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee McGee.
Here.
Trustee O'Brien.
Here.
Trustee Peterson.
Here.
Trustee Thompson. Absent. President Kukler.
Here. And Trustee Thompson was called away for a work event and expects to be back at the next meeting. I'd like to start with the President's report. What we're calling the Lyons Township Storm Sewer. Sorry, I skipped the Pledge of Allegiance, so why don't we start with that? I'd invite everybody to stand and Clerk Saladino to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance, flag, States of America, to the republic, indivisible.
All right, back in the President's page, or report. What we're calling the Lyons Township Storm Storage Project. We've had a little bit of progress. NICOR has begun relocating gas mains on Elm Street at Edgewood and at Sunset. These mains are in conflict with the proposed detention project, and the relocation in advance helps to mitigate any potential delays that might occur during construction. The project has been submitted for funding. It's been waiting on to hear. The funding is under FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And again, we remain hopeful that we will be able to secure those funds. Once we get word that the funds are secured, we would then take the next steps on the project. With regard to 50th Street, that's, again, the major storm sewer project for south of 47th Street. The village recently received notice that the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency permit has been received for the water main replacement associated with the 50th Street sewer project. This is a significant and important milestone, as combining both the water main replacements with the project allows the village to coordinate construction activities, reduce the overall cost through shared labor and equipment, and minimize road closures and disruptions. The improvement will include the installation of more than 6,500 feet of new water main, along with 21 fire hydrants and 68 water main control valves. It also includes the replacement of some lead service lines servicing water customers along the main. Permitting from the Illinois Department of Transportation and the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District remains, along with finalization of engineering plans with an anticipated bid letting this spring or summer. And we appreciate the community's patience and support of both these projects. Again, we'll be talking about them more in our capital plans later this meeting. On Friday, this will start the Grange Restaurant Week. It kicks off March 8th and goes through the following week, about 10 days. There's much to experience, over 20 local restaurants, offering various culinary delights, specially priced menus. So we are encouraging everybody, go to your old standbys, try a new restaurant, and really take it all in. There's a lot to be offered. And moving on to spring, I know today's cold, but spring has to be coming. Looking ahead, spring cleanup will be held the week of April 20th for residents on their regular collection day. The contract with Flood Brothers requires a separate spring cleanup sticker, and it's just one sticker for as much participation as you are able to get rid of. Spring cleanup stickers will be sold at the same locations as refuse and yard waste stickers. More information on the program can be found on the village's Facebook and Instagram accounts and the website. We do recommend that people apply the sticker the morning of garbage collectup. Sometimes people put it on a piece of furniture and then the furniture gets picked and the sticker goes. So again, if you could wait till the morning of to put on your stickers, it's usually best. Lastly, the village will hold its annual budget workshop Saturday, March 7th at 8 p.m. Again, we're doing the capital plan today, but the operating budget workshop will be Saturday, March 7th. During that meeting, the village's proposed fiscal year 2026 and 27 operating budget will be discussed as part of the annual budgeting process. All are invited to attend. Following the budget workshop, the next regular meeting will be the village board meeting held on March 9th. We're also, as a village, the board, and anybody who wants to join us, will be marching in the countryside parade on March 7th, the afternoon after our budget meeting. So anybody's welcome to join us and walk in countryside to celebrate the beginning of St. Patrick's Day season. With that, I'd ask Manager Knight to present his report.
Thank you, President Kukler, and good evening, everyone. Item A under the manager's report is the proposed fiscal year 2026 to 27 capital improvement plan budget. Before we get into the presentation, I'd like to thank the village's management team, and in particular Interim Finance Director Anne-Marie Mappy, as well as Director O'Brien, for crafting a thoughtful, comprehensive, and responsible proposed capital improvement plan budget. To provide the appropriate context for the discussion, it's important to point out that well-maintained and improved infrastructure is a strategic priority found in the village's 2024 to 2027 strategic plan. In efforts to support this priority, the village has thoughtfully considered infrastructure needs and has planned for improvements and maintenance accordingly, all the while maintaining fiscal responsibility. The over $25 million plan includes large-scale projects requiring multiple years of construction to maintenance tasks just lasting a few weeks. It includes plans for construction of large stormwater conveyance systems on down to the replacement of data terminals and squad cars. Throughout the plan, you'll find that flood mitigation remains a high priority. You also find proposed investments in village roads, the water system, facilities, and vehicles. It's important to note that the village will be relying on funding from federal, state, and regional funding sources to execute on some of the proposed projects. Grant programs that the village has sought funding from and will continue to pursue include the Hazardous Mitigation Grant Program, Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, Surface Transportation Program, and State of Illinois grant programs. Continued pursuit of funding for these programs is integral to securing the support needed for key infrastructure projects. The village intends to build upon its past successes in obtaining funds to enable the construction of projects that would otherwise be unattainable. With that, I'd like to ask Interim Director Mappy to begin an overview of the plan by fund.
Good evening. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Anne-Marie. I'm a finance consultant that the village retained to help out in the finance department with various functions. And I just wanted to say thank you for trusting me to do that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the revenue side of the CIP plan. The first slide, I think we're getting them up there real quick. I think we need to go down a slide. Okay, so here we are. So the plan improvements are just over $25 million in total across all funds. This investment is in infrastructure, equipment, and gives long-term stability to the village on it with its capital maintenance and replacement. The general fund has about $596,000 budgeted. That's mainly for building improvements across all village structures. The equipment replacement fund, a little bit over $2 million, and that is for vehicles and equipment for all departments. The CIP fund is your largest fund with a capital budget proposed for 26-27 of just over $16 million, and that consists of stormwater management, sewer maintenance, street maintenance and improvement projects, as well as sidewalk improvements. The water and sewer funds are self-contained. They're self-supporting. The revenues of that fund are supposed to cover the costs in those funds. And improvements in those funds scheduled for 26-27 include lead line replacements, water main improvements throughout the village, as well as pump station improvements. And the sewer fund, sewer lining and maintenance is budgeted in that fund. The next one. So the village has a number of different funding sources available to fund its capital project, including bond proceeds, state and federal grants, loans, transfers from the motor fuel tax fund and the general fund, and then available reserves in the various funds that I just covered, as well as resident sidewalk contributions. The 26-27 budget does include, the proposed budget does include a $2.5 million transfer from the general fund to the capital improvement fund, which will fall into that fund's reserves and be available to fund both 26-27 capital improvements as well as future improvements. If you want to switch to the next page. So here's the detail of how the village's capital improvement plan for 26-27 will be financed. The general fund will cover those costs that are being budgeted within that fund. And the proposed fund balance at the end of, or I should say the estimated fund balance at the end of 26 in the general fund is about 59% of operating expenditures, which is well within a very, very healthy general fund balance. The equipment replacement fund has, like I said, a little over $2 million budgeted in that fund. At the end of 2027, we don't have 2025 audited numbers yet, and the 2026 is still an estimate, but there should be about $2.7 million left in that fund after paying for all of those improvements. So that's a pretty healthy fund balance to have in an internal service fund that covers your vehicles and equipment. Bond proceeds that were issued back in 2015 are still available for the stormwater management projects. We're recommending to use about $10.8 million in bond proceeds, and that'll leave about $6.5 million of bond proceeds remaining that you'll be able to utilize in the 2028 budget to cover the remaining costs related to that project. Federal funding, we've got about $4.6 million. That's for the Lyons Township High School project. I think Tim or Jack will cover this later, that without those proceeds, either the project wouldn't occur, or we would have to find an alternate funding source. Sidewalk contributions, middle amount from residents. We're using a little bit of motor fuel tax to fund some projects within the CIP fund. We're using some capital reserves of about $1.2 million. That's a very healthy fund that is has that general fund contribution year after year, and that will still leave a significant fund balance in that fund. We've got some IEPA lead line loan of $4 million, and then water and sewer fund revenues reserves of $1.8 million, and then the sewer lining projects has a HUD grant of $500,000. If there's any questions?
Just one question quickly, and you may not know that answer, but we had it, motor fuel tax comes from gasoline tax, motor fuel tax.
State.
We had a combo McDonald's and a Shell, and that went away a year ago. Have we seen a significant, what's the shift in revenue from that source?
Honestly, I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can check that out and let Jack know, and he can tell you guys
Okay, thank
the
you.
info. I think Tim? Yep.
Thank you, Consultant Finance Director Mappy and Village Manager Knight. Good evening, President Kugler and Village Board members. Tonight, I'm pleased to present our proposed capital improvement plan, which outlines strategic investments to maintain and strengthen the infrastructure that supports our community every day. We have broken down the presentation to highlight 5 critical focuses for the plan, including critical sewer improvements to protect public health, targeted facility upgrades to preserve village assets, enhanced equipment and vehicle replacements to maintain reliable operations, roadway system investments to extend pavement life and enhance safety, and water system improvements to ensure dependable, high-quality service. Together, these projects and the others listed in the attachment reflect a balanced, fiscally responsible approach to addressing immediate needs while planning for the long-term stability and sustainability of our village. First, the sewer improvement and flood mitigation program represents the largest portion of our proposed capital improvement plan for the upcoming fiscal year. We recognize this is a significant investment, but as the board is aware, parts of our sewer system are aging, and some areas of town have experienced recurring flooding during heavy rain events. These challenges affect public safety, property protection, environmental quality, and long-term system reliability. Next fiscal year, we are scheduled to begin 4 major projects aimed at addressing the most critical needs in our system. These projects are designed to reduce neighborhood flooding, prevent sewer backups in homes and businesses, increase system capacity to known problem areas, and lower long-term maintenance and emergency repair costs. While these projects represent a substantial investment, they are proactive ways and steps to avoid more costly emergency repairs and infrastructure failures in the future. Addressing these issues now helps protect property values, reduce risks to residents, and strengthens the resiliency of our community. Start off with the 50th Street storm sewer project in the South Basin, which is south of 47th Street. This consists of constructing trunk stormwater sewer from Stone Avenue to East Avenue, laterals to 5 depressional areas, outfall reconstruction, water main replacement, as well as an option for aggregate storage in the project excavation area and roadway resurfacing. The current estimate for the entire project, with all options for Phase 1 and Phase 2, is $36.8 million. Engineers have continued work on Phase 1 of the 50th Street project, which is the main trunk line for the overall project. It includes outfall design, utility deconflicting, and new water and sewer trunk and lateral storage design, and participating in an iterative process of design with permitting agencies, MWRD and IDOT. The village has recently obtained the IEPA permit for this project, and design is nearly complete and is expected to begin in 2026. Engineers have also continued work on Phase 2 of the 50th Street project, which will be the completion of the laterals and the other depressional areas. Currently, that project is 30% design stage and will be budgeted for construction in future years. MWRD has committed to cost sharing under the MWRD Stormwater Partnership Program, which is expected to finance about 50% of the project's eligible construction costs, which excludes the village expenses for water main replacement. Terms of the partnership with MWRD will be finalized as part of a intergovernmental agreement, or IGA. The village will continue to pursue grant funding available through MWRD, FEMA, the state of Illinois, to offset the cost of this project. This includes resubmission to the FEMA BRIC federal grant to assist in funding. The proposed capital project fund for FY26-27 includes $11.3 million for the beginning of Phase 1 construction and construction engineering, but is expected to be a 2-year project. Next project, one of the highlight is the LTHS storm storage project in the North Basin. Just will address the deepest pocket of flooding in the village, which is at Sunset and Elm. Engineers have continued to work on this project, which has included underground storage design, utility deconflicting, storm sewer mains, and participating in an iterative process on plan design with MWD as permitting agency. When constructed, this project will help store 10 acre-feet, or approximately 3.25 million gallons of stormwater under LT's soccer field. The engineering is at the 90% design stage, and further coordination is needed with Lyons Township High School. The village has continued to pursue grant funding for this project as well through MWD, FEMA, and the state of Illinois. This includes resubmission to the FEMA BRIC grant to assist in funding. The total project cost is $7.9 million, with the proposed capital budget funds for 2026, including $4.6 for construction engineering for this year, as this is probably be a project that will span 2 fiscal years. The project is contingent on receiving grant funding.
Director O'Brien, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Going back to the 50th Street project, do we know what currently is in what I would call the account that's holding the bond funds?
No, I'm not sure what that is.
There's approximately about 16.7 million.
16.7? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Next project is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers sewer lining project. The village received an award of $2 million in federal funding to rehabilitate the sewers located in the village's North Basin. Engineering design is currently underway and nearing 90% designed. Regular meetings between the village, its consultant engineer, and the Army Corps of Engineers occur to discuss and provide updates on the project. The project consists of sewer lining and point repairs. Although the project is on hold with the U.S. Corps of Engineers for review by their senior administration personnel, the village is hopeful to construct the project in 2026. Funding for lining and point repairs will route directly to the Army Corps of Engineers for the completed work. The proposed capital projects fund for FY 26-27 includes construction engineering as well as the application of federal funds, which requires the village to commit to cost participation of at least 25% as a non-federal sponsor. This totals about $800,000 plus the construction management costs. Next project is sewer lining. The village is proposing to complete storm and sanitary sewer televising cleaning work with a $500,000 grant awarded through the Community Project Funding Program and administered by Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. This approach assures that the available funds are maximized for construction-related activities, directly benefiting the community by enhancing the efficiency and reliability of the village's sewer systems. By cleaning the sewers, debris that has likely built up over several decades will be removed, increasing sewer capacity and helping to mitigate local flooding. This project should provide tangible improvements while positioning the village to identify and plan for future capital needs. Once complete, approximately 57% of the system will have been televised and cleaned since 2016. The next portion of the capital improvement plan focuses investing in the village facilities that support essential public services, including public safety, public works, and administration operations. These buildings are critical to how we serve our residents every day. The proposed investments are not about expansion, but about responsible stewardship. Many of our facilities are aging and require planned improvements to remain safe, functional, and cost-effective. Addressing these needs proactively helps us avoid more expensive emergency repairs and ensures community of service. Several key identified projects include the Village Hall Eaves Painting Project. As a building listed on the Historic Register, timely maintenance is essential to preserve its historic character and prevent more costly restoration in the future. The project will extend the life of the structure and enhance the appearance of the facility. The Village Hall elevator repairs upgrade. The current elevator needs to be updated and to be brought into current code compliance, including emergency battery lowering, which will bring the elevator to the next landing and open the doors to avoid entrapment in case of power failure. The elevator is required to maintain ADA access to the facility. Village Hall boiler repair. The proposed repairs and maintenance are essential for modernizing the heating boiler system to improve efficiency, reliability, and performance. The fire department locker room remodel. This project would be an all-encompassing project to remodel the men's and women's locker rooms located at the fire department. This project includes the renovation and modernization of the fire station locker room to improve functionality, safety, and compliance with current health and building standards. Not only will it enhance firefighter health and safety, but modernized facilities will also improve morale, recruitment, and retention by providing a clean, functional, and professional environment that supports personnel readiness and operational effectiveness. The Grange Road Station roof upgrade. Metro has advised that they are planning exterior improvements to the LaGrange Road train station. Design for this project has been started and construction is expected in 2026. Metro is seeking to install a roof material that would restore the historical appearance of the station, which may require financial support from the village. Next up is our equipment and vehicle replacements. Our fleet is essential to delivering reliable services to residents, from emergency response to snow removal and infrastructure maintenance. These vehicles are tools that allow our staff to perform their duties safely and effectively. The proposed plan prioritizes preventative maintenance and schedule replacement based on age, condition, mileage, and repair history. Replacing vehicles at the appropriate time helps reduce breakdowns, avoid escalating repair costs, improve safety, and maintain dependable service levels. This approach reflects careful stewardship of public resources while ensuring the village can continue meeting operational demands. Some of the key vehicles and equipment replacements include the fire department's ambulance and 2 auto-loading stretchers. Ambulances are custom built with expensive medical communication and safety equipment. Costs this year will include a down payment to secure a place in line with actual possession of the ambulance occurring in future years. Also included are the police department's parking enforcement squad, investigative, and other administrative vehicles.
Can we just delve a little deeper on these ambulance replacements? Because we have 2 of them and they're being replaced within 2 years. Why are we doing that, and how long have we had these? Like, didn't we buy one used or something, and with the idea that it was going to last? So I'm trying to figure out, maybe the chief could tell us, do we use one primarily and then one as a backup?
Yeah, right now the 2021 is the first line, that's 1115. We're proposing to replace the 2008, which is in conjunction with the replacement program that was delivered and is industry standard.
Then why do we need to replace, which will be the backup, the 2021 in 2028?
So it's typically from 7 to 10 years as your frontline ambulance. By the time we took delivery of this, which will be in 3 to 4 years, that ambulance, the frontline now will be 7 to 8 years old at that point. And then by the time we get the proposal in 28, we can push that back most likely to be more in line with the reserve end of it, but we weren't sure where that was going to land.
Yeah, I mean, that's my confusion when I see it, because I get it. You want within 7 to 10 years, you don't want your primary to be over that 7 to 10 year range. But if we get a new one, and we're budgeting $450,000 this year, so assuming we're spending that money, then that'll be our front line.
When we take delivery of it, which is in 2 to 3 years. That's some of the problem that we're seeing, obviously, is when we're trying to forecast this, is the delivery time and when we're going to spend that money.
Right, and then the other thing is, I really think as a village, we need to be communicating to our representatives, both down in Springfield and in DC, that we need an ambulance, and we're in the market of purchasing it and seeing what type of funding can come, because other towns have gotten grants and things of that nature. So I think that's important as we're getting serious about replacing an ambulance. So thank you.
The police department is also looking to replace and upgrade their mobile data terminals in the police fleet. In addition, police are also looking to acquire anti-vehicle mobile barriers and associated equipment. The barriers can be used to protect the perimeter of special events from vehicle intrusions. These new barriers would be much easier to deploy than the water-filled barriers we use now, or they will also reduce the need for police, fire, or public work vehicles to be used to secure access to large community events. The new barriers can be positioned to allow access for pedestrians also. The police department is exploring grant funding to offset this cost at this time. The finance department is looking to replace the outdated enterprise resource planning software, ERP. Replacement of the current ERP system will provide the village with a modern ERP software system that improves efficiency by integrating financials, asset management, and project tracking into one secure, up-to-date platform. Upgrading enhanced access to and reporting of financial data, improves transparency, hedges against exposure to the product reaching end of life, reduces risk from system failures, limited reporting capabilities, and cybersecurity and vulnerabilities, enhancing improved long-term planning and responsible stewardship of public funds. The Public Works Department is looking to replace the street sweeper due to its advanced age, declining reliability, and rising maintenance and repair costs. The unit has exceeded its expected service life, resulting in increased downtime, higher parts and labor expense, and reduced operational efficiency. We investigated going to a contracted sweeping model, but have determined that a purchase of a street sweeper allows this village to control its scheduling better, respond more quickly to weather or debris issues, and reduce long-term costs compared to recurring contractor fees, especially when you factor in the trade-in value. The capital plan also includes upfitting of purchased replacement vehicles that were approved by the board in 2025, in which funds were expended for the purchase of the chassis. The FY 26-27 budget includes a balance of the amount owed for dump trucks that will be due upon delivery of the vehicles this summer. Next up is our roadway system. Investing in the roadway system improvements is essential to maintaining safe, reliable transportation infrastructure for residents, businesses, and emergency services. Proactive maintenance and strategic upgrades help extend pavement life, reduce long-term costs, and support the village's continued growth and economic stability. With that in mind, the village entered into an intergovernmental agreement with the village of Western Springs last year for design engineering of the Veston Cook funded and Gilbert Avenue STP resurfacing project from Ogden Avenue to 47th Street. Western Springs is the lead agency on the project, is currently overseeing phase 1 and 2 engineering for this project. The scope of the project includes milling and resurfacing of the roadway, spot repair of curb gutters and sidewalks, ADA ramps, and a pedestrian crossing with rapid flashing beacons at Cosset and Gilbert. The project is on schedule to be bid in September 2026, and likely construction is in 2027. The 2021 street condition report found that 50.1% of the vehicle streets were rated at good or better condition. The village has reduced the amount of poor or failed streets as a percentage of the total, but the percentage of the fair streets within the village has increased significantly since 2016. The primary goal of a successful pavement management plan is to proactively rehabilitate streets on a schedule that targets repairs before pavements approach the end of their useful life, where pavements rapidly decline and become far more expensive to rehabilitate. This strategy is the most effective use of the village's allocated street budget, regardless of the budget amount. Prioritization of streets and design will occur in FY 26-27 for the anticipated neighborhood street projects that will utilize the motor fuel tax funding in future fiscal years. Looking towards the future, several projects will be evaluated and refined to ensure they are ready for future funding consideration. While no roadway expenditures are anticipated in the upcoming fiscal year, I thought it'd be good to highlight these projects because advancing planning, scoping, and cost estimates now positions the village to respond strategically when resources become available and priorities are confirmed. These projects include Burlington Avenue, the Grange Road to Ogden Avenue roadway and pedestrian improvements, which is eligible for funding through the Surface Transportation Program STP grant. Also looking at water main and roadway improvement projects on Peck Avenue, Leach Avenue, and Stone Avenue for upcoming years. The annual sidewalk maintenance program, the annual 50/50 sidewalk
Director
program.
O'Brien, before we go on to that, so where does it, like the crack sealing for the roads and the pothole replacement, is that under the neighborhood street projects, or where does that come in?
That we moved that to the operational budget this year. So
Okay.
it's coming out of the operational budget.
So how much, did we used to have it under the capital budget? How much was it under the capital budget in the years past?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this. Are we moving the same amount to the operating budget?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And in the past, we started, instead of just making minor or smaller pothole repairs, we're doing bigger sections. Are we continuing with that?
I think we're moving to like it's not budgeted for next fiscal year, but we have it on an every other year basis.
So what happens in the off year when potholes develop?
We just maintain the potholes with the regular potholes.
All right.
The annual 50/50 sidewalk program serves to replace sidewalk sections that have failed or that have heaved. The program includes a split of the cost of replacing sidewalk squares and administration of maintaining a list of interested residents, collecting and processing payments, and responding to questions and concerns. Over the next year, staff is going to look to evaluate the effectiveness and administrative aspects of this program to ensure that repairs are completed in a timely, uniform manner Accessibility and safety are improved, and ways to reduce administrative burden strengthen the village's ability to proactively manage liability and ADA compliance.
So we're continuing to, what's the program? They email you or something if they want it?
Yeah, residents email or call the Public Works, and then we maintain a list of interested residents. We go out there and see what they want what they want done with their sidewalks, and then we calculate it, and then they write us a check for 50% of the cost.
Okay, so our residents now, do we know how many sidewalk squares we expect to be able to do when residents call? What their chances of having it done this year and things like that?
No, because it's pretty variable from year to year as how many, we know, like, we can figure out the overall squares that we should be able to do. But some people want their whole, front of their, only want 1 or 2 squares, but then some people want their entire sidewalk replaced.
Right, I think for the board, we'd like to know, in going back last year, okay, was $77,000 or $73,000 enough, or did that only do half the residents that wanted it done? So that we know going forward, well, actually, we should be budgeting $150,000 for this, because we might as well get the sidewalks that the residents want repaired. I'm more concerned the residents who don't want to have their sidewalk repaired and they're crumbling, what we can do to get them actually to repair their sidewalks. So I'm very interested in updating the way that residents can ask to participate in the sidewalk program, that our department administers the sidewalk program, and if necessary this year, that we allocate more money to make sure that whatever residents want to have their sidewalks repaired are in fact repaired.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that last year maybe 3 residents were unable to get what they want to do, but there is a lot of sidewalk out there that I think is crumbling that needs.
I agree. There's plenty of sidewalk that needs to be done. I don't think we should be telling, especially if there's 3, that those residents should have been told no. I think it's important that we do it as opposed to kicking it to the following year. And again, I think to the residents that are watching, if you go outside and your sidewalk's in disrepair, please call it or email Public Works and get on the list, and the village will pay half the costs for the sidewalk repair.
Last up is our water fund. The Village of Grange is committed to protecting the public health of all our customers by providing health, safety, and pure water. LaGrange has consistently complied with all requirements set by a regulatory agency to maintain high water quality for residents and customers. House Bill 3739 created a statutory requirement for the village to completely replace lead service lines when they are disturbed. Partial replacement of lead service lines represents a public health issue. The village has a lead service line replacement plan, which accounts for the replacement of approximately 3,400 lead services in town over a 10-year period beginning in 2027. Completion of the plan will result in the elimination of a potential public health hazard in LaGrange, and improve the marketability of our housing stock. Staff will utilize low-interest or forgivable IEPA loans as much as feasible. IEP loans are the lowest cost financing solution to this problem at the moment. The proposed FY 26-27 budget includes $4 million for this program in anticipation of receiving IEPA funding. In 2025, the village completed the inspection of the village's reservoir and standpipe. As part of the study, several recommendations were made for repairs and improvements at the reservoir. In addition, the village plans to replace some meters and pumps at the pumping station. Replacing water pumps and meters in the village pumping station improves reliability, efficiency, and results in long-term cost savings. New pumps operate more efficiently, reducing energy consumption and lowering operating costs.
On this, the lead service line, I know that LaGrange has a lot of homes with still their lead service lines that need to be replaced. I know other villages are in the same position, especially in Illinois. And there's different ways that villages are going about it. I'd like us to explore if it would be possible for the village to either do some of the work in-house, or even, I know that they've gone a big improvement on equipment for trenchless replacement of the lead sewer lines. Maybe even the village would purchase the equipment and therefore lower the costs that the homeowner would have. I think it's important personally, and I know this is a policy decision for the board, but we've in the past charged homeowners for their section from the B-box to their house. And I think that's important that we continue to have them paying some of the costs for equity reasons. But maybe that's a way that we can move some on to our plate to make it more affordable to the homeowners. And so I'd like us to look into different ways we can do that.
I had a question as well. I think it might be more for Jack. The IEPA loan for the lead service lines, do we know when decisions will be made with respect to that, or is that something still sort of pending?
We anticipate that very soon. I don't know that I have the exact timing. We have our consultant Baxter and Woman helping us with the application materials. I think we just signed off on some additional forms last week. Do you happen to have a date in which the decisions will be made on that bypass funding?
I thought, though, the bypass funding was late March, the decisions about who was eligible.
Okay.
Yep, so very soon.
Yeah, all right, thanks.
Also included in the water fund are some main improvements. While Public Works crews repair most of the water main breaks in the village, the capital plan includes a contingency for contractor-performed water main repairs that ensure the village can respond quickly to complex or large-scale failures that exceed the capacity or availability of Public Works crews. The flexibility protects service continuity, controls risk, and allows in-house staff to maintain routine operations like ice and snow control operations, while specialized repairs are addressed efficiently. The water fund will also support the water main improvement portions associated with the 50th Street Storm Sewer Project. Automated metering infrastructure, meter reading improvements. An antenna was installed at Village Hall, which is capable of communicating with all water meters in the village to pull read information over the air. The antenna then sends the information to water billing so that consumption can be tracked and billed accordingly. The current base station is at the end of the life expectancy. Replacing the base station is essential to maintain reliable meter data collection, billing accuracy, and system-wide communication performance. Upgrading this critical component reduces the risk of service disruptions, improves data security, ensures the village's metering system remains dependable and technologically current. With that, that concludes my portion of the presentation of the upcoming highlighted projects. I will pass it back to Consultant Finance Director Mappy for concluding remarks and any questions that the board may have.
Thank you.
Okay, so included in the packet, we have a 5-year plan that obviously the first column of that plan is what's going to be in the 26-27 budget. That total is about $97 million. Obviously, we'd have to look at funding sources going forward to make sure that we can cover that full amount over the next 5 years. I know that the 2026-27 budget does include funds for a consultant to help us review the infrastructure capital plan and make plans for how we should budget for that in the future, as well as what funding sources would be. We'll, obviously continue to look for grants and to participate in all the grant programs that we can. I know there's a lot out there, but it's not always easy to get them. And then we will wrap all these capital items into the budget when we present on March 7th, so that you'll have a full operating and capital budget presented.
Please.
When you were going over the revenues, you mentioned that, I can't remember if it was the general fund or the capital project fund, that the transfer, it was going to be 59%, so it was pretty healthy fund balance at the end of the current fiscal year. When we see this, will we have a forecast of where the funds are going to be expected to be at the end of the current fiscal year?
Yes, we'll have projected numbers for 2026, and then
Yes.
we'll have estimated numbers based on the 2027 budget.
Thank you.
Any other trustee questions? Are you done? or-
Yes, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Trustees, any other questions?
I did. It was
Trustee Gale.
it's a very specific one. It goes back to the water mains, and we used to always see a loss percentage of water that we would get every year. Like, do we still track that? Do we know what that is currently? Basically, how much we lose from it comes in and then X amount makes it to the house.
We have that number. We can provide that with you. I don't have it off the top of my head. We had to submit that as part of a report to I believe it was IDNR recently, so I have that number.
Okay, if you can share it, yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Thank you, Trustee Gale. Again, I'd like to thank the staff and the village board for their contributions for a sound capital improvement plan and our budget for the upcoming year. With that, I'd like to request Clerk Saladino read the items on the consent agenda, followed by those under the current business.
Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they already have been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. Item A, minutes of the Village of Grange Board of Trustees regular meeting January 12, 2026. Item B, February 23, 2026, consolidated voucher. Current business. This agenda item includes consideration of matters being presented to the Board of Trustees for action. Item A, an ordinance approving a purchase and sale agreement and related amendments for the purchase of 702 to 712 West Burlington Avenue, 2022 South Stone Avenue, and 15 South Brainerd Avenue. And that's it.
Thank you, Clerk Saladino. The next item on tonight's agenda is public comments regarding agenda items that would include the capital budgeting that we just discussed, as well as the items under the consent and current business.
Jonathan Robinson, I'm a resident. Basically, my comments are for the property that's being purchased. Basically, the $915,000 is a lot of money compared to what our current parking properties are worth, and so I just want to make sure that everything got considered reasonably in consistency. So I just have a handful of questions to throw out to make sure that they got considered correctly. The biggest one is just how was that price determined? Was there a realtor or other professional present at that meeting session to offer information on pricing and such? Were there any appraisals performed? Whom were they performed by? And were they before or after the offer price was established? Since this is cash out of the parking fund, has someone carried out an analysis to assure that we still have sufficient reserves in those parking funds? This is a significant expenditure that wasn't expected. The short-term plan is obviously parking. Was there a long-term business plan for this investment made? If so, when and where will it be available for the public to review? What is that expected income for this property in the interim, as parking? what is the expected cost to the village will incur with these lots in regards to things like insurance, snow plowing, maintenance, new signage and striping, and all the other requirements. And the last thing I just want to note is this is the perfect example of once this has been approved, the meeting minutes for that closed meeting no longer need to be privileged. And so that portion of the meeting can be given back to the public. Once you've set the price, it no longer needs to be confidential. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. I can tell you that an appraisal was done by both the village and by the seller, which is the bank. And the idea, we own property in that area. We wanted to, since this property was available, we thought it made fiscal sense for the village to be the purchaser that will allow us more say in controlling any future development that goes on in that area.
And so the intent is this eventually will become future development?
Perhaps.
Is any timeline on that?
No.
Any of the other questions?
No, I thought you were sitting down. I didn't think we were going to debate or get into a question and answer. Is the only reason I wanted to let you know that there was appraisers.
Well, I thought it was a pretty good question. John Pluto. I want to go back to the budget. And there's a couple of things that I didn't understand up here. And it goes to the general fund, where we got to go back to the beginning of the process. I think there was a couple of mistakes.
Well, why don't you make your 3-minute statement?
Well, we got a $2,000 mistake on the general fund. One page says $596,800 in reserve. And let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking at one
says
page. It says 598,800.
598. Okay. Which one is correct? And I take back my time while you're trying to figure that $2,000 mistake out. Okay, next one. If we're going to do this, we got to do it correctly. The other one is on the 50th Street storm sewer slide, where it shows $10,300,000 on it, or $300,000. That one. When you go to page 28 of the accounting of the funds, it shows $9,300,000, and the total at the bottom is not the same as that fund. It's $1,156,000 off. How can we explain that?
I think Mr. Pluto's looking at the 2026-27 capital improvement plan summary, where phase 1 was at 10,300 and on 10,300,000, and we're on the 5-year projection. For the first year, it's $9,300,000 under phase 1 for the fiscal year 2027. Do we know why that difference?
Yeah, that's because there's $1 million in the water fund that I put in that 10.3 to bring it up to 10.3, just to kind of show the overall project cost for next year. But there's $1 million in the water fund.
Is there somewhere where I could get that information from so I could clear my records up at home?
It should be on it. It's part of the package. It's part of the package.
Well, when it's
I could, so John, on that same page where you found the $9,300,000, if you look under the water fund, you'll see water main replacement 50th Street project phase 1, $1 million.
So we can switch buckets, is what you're saying.
You're right.
We
It's
can
coming
move the
out of
money
two different
where-
buckets.
We can do some creative accounting.
Well, the money's coming from two different buckets, but yes.
Well, water. Okay. Well, you guys figure it out, and I'll ask you the next time to explain it to me. But I guess I got a question on the lead pipe service. And I understand that's not going to start till 2027? 2027? The lead pipe service replacement?
Well, we've already started it. We've already replaced some lead service lines.
Okay. Did you guys get the $4 million loan from the
No,
environment?
we just discussed that, and we're waiting to hear at the end of March, we're hoping to hear by.
It appeared to me that on the budget, this budget, that was already money that was counted.
Well, it's on the budget as we're hoping to have it awarded, but it has not been spent.
But we don't have it yet.
No, nor has it been spent.
Okay.
But it's budgeted.
We're
The
counting
idea
something
is we're
that's not
looking
in the
at
bank yet.
Correct. We're looking
Okay.
into the future. If we get the money, this is how we're going to spend it.
And I have your form that you sent to the EPA for the loan. Are we going to start out at Arlington Avenue, Park Avenue, 9th Avenue, 10th Avenue, and 11th Avenue? Is that correct?
I'm not sure that we're finalized where we're going to start out from. We're going to have a consultant come in to talk to us once we have a better idea of what money we're going to have, what roads are going to be constructed. There's a lot.
Well, on the form that you filled out, it says project address, and it gives these addresses.
So again, it's going to depend if we get the funds. Then we'll use the funds appropriately. So
well, but this form that you signed says that the locations are going to be for 9th Avenue, 10th Avenue, and 11th Avenue. Are they going to be for that, or are we changing streets? Why do we fill out forms if we're not going to follow through on them? And then the last item that I'd like to bring up.
Thank you, because it's 5.5 minutes.
Well, you got to talk a little bit too, so cut me a little
I promise
slack.
I won't next time you come up.
Can I continue?
Please.
Okay. The last item is the water reservoir. And I know you guys kicked the can down the road for 2 years. So are we going to get that thing cleaned and coated with a coating like in 2013, what DNN Tank recommended you to do to improve longevity of that tank? It's right next to the most active quarry in the state. And we need to protect that because we ain't got another one. Thanks for the extra time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Laura West, LaGrange. This town hall has been filled with hundreds of people at times after flooding events for decades. And I just really want to applaud all of you on listening to the residents, understanding the problems. We are a great village, but we are known for flooding. And it is now number one, top, front, and center on this plan with actual resources, hard-earned, hard-worked-for resources, but to be deployed, to put to use, that will change residents' lives. So I appreciate the thoughtfulness behind this, the work that went into it, the work that needs to be done to continue to shore up some of these funds to make these projects happen. But I've never seen such concrete thought and dollars and plans behind it. And LaGrange might start digging some holes and solving some of our own problems. And I'm really proud to be a resident of LaGrange today and thankful for all of the work that you've done. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Al Foreman, 7th Avenue. I have comments that are mostly in the form of questions, and I understand it's not a Q&A, but if necessary, I can follow up with an email to you. First topic is back to the parking lot purchase. And as I look at it, I'm trying to make sure that we're addressing the fundamental challenge, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is the availability of parking in the West End. And I'm wondering if we've got the optimal solution. Example, have we looked at alternatives such as whether the bank could deal with a third party that would take over that property and run it as a parking lot? Or, some outsourcer? Or could the village lease it instead of spending $915,000 on it? So you may have already gone through that, but I offer that as food for thought. My amateur analysis, I come to the conclusion that I'll call this investment it has no operating profit potential. Let me tell you why. My quick math says 55 spots, $60 a month, $40,000 a year revenue, and you're certainly going to have some costs that go against that. $915,000 sitting in a bank and CDs probably spin off a little bit more than that. So I kind of jump and say this is really a speculative investment, and there's an argument for that, but it leads me to a question that says, is that in line with the village policies? So again, it's a significant amount of money, and I don't want to keep bringing back Jackson Storage, but a month ago you all sat here and said, the village doesn't really have money to put into an investment like Jackson Storage to save it, and how would we explain that when we have all these other bills? A month later, we're talking about spending nearly $1 million on a parking lot, and is that the message that the residents need to hear? So again, I'm hoping that in addition to the appraisals, that there is some thorough cost-benefit analysis that was prepared, and maybe that'll come to light someday, and that would make me happy if I could see it. But if you didn't get to that detail, I'm just trying to poke those thought bubbles. Last point I'd make on the parking, Jonathan alluded to this, but I think a parallel did the same math. Looking at the annual report from 2 years ago, it's hard to connect the dots, but I've made some assumptions. It looks like the value of the land and the improvements from the parking on the books is about $4 million.
I'm sorry, which property are you talking about? I'm
talking about parking overall, right? So if you go into the annual report from 2 years ago, page 35 actually, you'll find the balance sheet for funds including parking. It's not clearly defined, it's kind of grouped. But it says how much is land and how much is parking improvements specifically called out. $4 million is what I come up with. So take the $4 million off of, how many spaces we have available across town. And my math says $915,000 for 55 spots would turn out to be 4 to 5 times more expensive than the cost that we have for our existing infrastructure of parking spaces. Yes, there's inflation, and it's maybe a little bit apple and orange, but I just kind of look at a couple different angles to say, have we really looked hard at the price and the investment, and are we doing the right thing for the residents? So again, I can put this in email if there's interest, or you all know how to reach me if there's questions. So if I can switch quickly to the capital plan, I would commend you for the level of detail that you shared tonight, but I would honestly strongly urge you to do a lot more before you get to your budget workshop. Your presentation is totally ignoring, lack of a better word, the current year and any history. So we got a $25 million capital budget for next year. We had a $13 million capital budget for this current fiscal year. I have no idea how we're tracking against that. No idea of what may have been pushed from this year to next. So I think there's a little homework that should be done that kind of bridges history to where you're launching forward. And also, calling out in greater detail what are, I again strongly recommend that each project has its own fact sheet, like a timeline, where we're at, stage of completion, what are the dependencies, what are the risks, et cetera. And other things that you can kind of go back and audit yourself on. $4 million next year for 300 lead line replacements equates to $13,300 per home. What has been our experience on what's already been done? How does that number compare? Just again, trying to make sure that we're fiscally responsible. Other items that I think could kind of just clean up with footnotes, the $2 million for Army Corps of Engineers, the $500,000 from HUD, that was in last year's budget. So as I read it, I don't know if that's a recurring number or if it's something, again, that's pushed from year to year. I look at the total 25 million that's required, and basically a third of the funds, I would say, are kind of like at risk, or maybe we learned soon about the Illinois EPA and the other federal funding. I can't be silent on the $360,000 for the finance software upgrade. I'll just give you this reference point. Looking at last year's budget for the finance department, expenses excluding payroll related were only $112,000. So yeah, there might be a huge investment that's required, and you might be taking us from the caveman days to the 20th century. So be it. But I just want to make sure you've done all your homework on that, and also be transparent about what that's going to cost in the future. Now, you may make an assumption that says, oh, that's going to turn into operating, software license recurring fees. But I think I saw someplace else where there's, like annual maintenance charges that are included in the capital budget. Whether you score it there or not, acknowledge it, because it's not going to be free. And really, kind of, all due respect, do a thorough analysis that ultimately says, are we doing the right thing doing this all as our own investment? Or should we be thinking about outsourcing alternatives, right? So the final point, and I'll walk away. I mentioned fact sheets. Again, those fact sheets I would recommend include the years, funding, alternatives, if any. And then final point is, if the lot is purchased, what, if any, capital improvements would that require that needs to be addressed in the next year? Thanks.
Thank you. Just generally answering or addressing some of the things you raised. The property, the parking lot, is for sale. So we either buy it or somebody else buys it. We did not ask if the sellers were interested in leasing it to us. We know that they were interested in selling it. So, and we did not approach other people for a type of leasing agreement, because there's two things we're trying to do. We're trying to have parking, at least in the short term, that is a need, but we own other land adjacent to this. And this will allow us to have better control if and when it's appropriate for development. And so that is the idea. We probably wouldn't have done it had we not owned adjacent land. But because we own adjacent land, and there's at least in the near term a parking need, the board felt that it made sense to go ahead with the project. Again, it was appraised, it was purchased at the appraised amount. And so will the property go up in value? Probably. And that's why we went ahead and purchased it. We definitely didn't look and say 55 spots can earn $60 a month, and what's the return there? We were looking at it as there is a need, and we own the adjacent property. Together, it makes sense for future development. Maybe in 10, 20, 40 years, we'll look back and that'll be the best decision we ever made, or maybe it won't, but the hope is it'll be a good decision. With regard to tracking last year's, like, we can't get into a back and forth, but dealing with last year's budget, I think that's a good point, and I would like to see that for both the last year and then going forward as, okay, here was our capital budget last year. This is what we came into. These amounts were spent or weren't spent and are included in the following year. So I appreciate that suggestion. And then, again, generally on the lead service line, we're very familiar with the costs historically on our lead service lines, as well as going forward, what people in the industry are saying. And again, it may be conservative. We may be able to do 320 houses, but it's in that ballpark that people are estimating. Again, it matters how many feet and things like that, but that's the cost.
Thank you.
Any other comments on tonight's agenda? I'll talk to you after the meeting. What we can't do is what happened tonight, but you can come up and talk. And hopefully we can keep, somewhere close to
Robinson?
3 minutes.
Resident?
Yeah.
What's the adjacent property?
What is it?
Yeah, what's the adjacent property to the,
Do you want the address or
just-
it's a vacant property that's, are you familiar with this area? So if I say Harder's gas station repair shop,
absolutely.
okay, it's adjacent and behind that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. At this time, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda in a second?
I move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale and Trustee O'Brien. Any discussion regarding the consent agenda?
President Kukler, I recuse myself, as previously stated, on any agenda items having to do with the village prosecutor.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments or questions, I would ask for a roll call vote.
Trustee Peterson?
Aye.
Trustee McGee?
Aye.
Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien?
Aye.
Trustee Gale?
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Moving on to current business. Under A, we have the purchase and sale agreement related to 702 to 712 Burlington and 20 to 22 South Stone, as well as 15 South Brainerd. And I'd ask Trustee Gale to present that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last year, FNBC Bank and Trust acquired property adjacent to their building and expanded their primary parking lot on the 600 block of West Burlington Avenue. After FNBC concluded construction in the fall of last year, they advised the village they no longer required the off-site parking lot located on the 700 block of West Burlington Avenue, which was used by bank customers, employees, and a small number of area residents. FNBC representatives then inquired about whether the village had interest in purchasing the property in light of the fact that the village owns a property adjacent to FNBC's property on the 700 block of West Burlington Avenue. In December, the village and FNBC agreed to the terms of the attached purchase and sale agreement. The agreement is subject to 2 amendments extending the term of the due diligence property and to reduce the original purchase price to $915,160. The agreement, as amended and signed by FNBC and the village manager, is contingent on approval by the village board at an open meeting following the completion of due diligence. Should the purchase and sale agreement be approved, closing will be scheduled for next month. Following closing, the village plans to allow current parking accommodations to remain in place until May 31st, 2026, which will allow users of the lot time to make adjustments to meet their needs. Beginning June 1st, 2026, management of the available spaces will follow the village's 2022 parking study recommendations. Forthcoming regulations and requirements will be communicated to users of the lot and more broadly to the public as plans are finalized. Approval of the proposed purchase agreement will serve to advance several village goals, including increasing parking inventory in the West End, particularly for area employees, providing an opportunity to enhance the use of an existing village-owned parcel adjacent to the property proposed for acquisition, offering additional opportunity for the village to pursue goals set forth in the comprehensive plan, and addressing residents' long-term goal for the vitality of the West End. As an unanticipated expense, funds for this purchase were not included in the fiscal year 25-26 budget. However, funds are available in the parking fund for the $915,160 expense. And with that, I move for approval of the purchase and sale agreement as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale and Trustee O'Brien. Any discussion regarding this property?
Thank you, President Kukler. Just to kind of clarify, because we've had some questions about this, and the sketch, the Exhibit A, I think, in here, which is kind of the black and white layout of the purchase space, it's a little hard to kind of tell what properties are there, but I think probably the audience understands the area we're talking about. For me, it wasn't an easy decision to just say yes to this opportunity, but as it was explained to me by staff and as we talked it over, it seemed like a very good idea, as President Kukler said and as the report states, to figure out how to make the best decisions regarding this very unusual piece of land. And I'm wondering, Charity, I'm looking at you and you know it, Could you explain this and maybe just kind of paint a picture, or if you could pop that sketch onto the screen? It's a complicated piece. There's easements and there's areas that I think people may or may not have thought were their property, but are our property. So it's super unusual. And as was stated, had it not been for the village owning a piece of property in the middle of that section, it probably wouldn't have been offered to us and may not have been considered. But it's really short-term thoughts on parking, but long-term, this is a piece of land that has potential. We're not sure what will be done with it, but we want to be able to look at it, figure out what's best and be part of that conversation. Could you explain both the complications of that, of where our land is and maybe how long we've had a piece in there, and then what some of the ideas were that you presented to us when this first came up?
Sure. So the village's property that we own is what's referred to as a flag lot. So it has a very narrow piece of access off of Brainerd Avenue and then extends to a larger area mid-block. So very challenging from a site design standpoint to be able to use it for anything. In addition, there are some other users on the block that are kind of infringing on the village's parcel that we currently own. With the bank selling their property, it provides an opportunity for the village to use that existing parking lot for parking within the area and potentially explore options to redesign to make better use of our asset that we're currently not using. As noted in the parking study, the West End, as distinct from the Central Business District, in the Central Business District, the village owns several properties that are used for parking. In the West End, the village owns no off-street parking facilities. The one off-street parking lot is not owned by the village. We have an arrangement with Metro whereby we can allow some use of it, but we have constraints. So this provides additional opportunities, primarily, as noted in the staff memo, to provide parking for employees and residents in the area who have really no daytime parking options available to them currently. And then in the long term, this block, this part of a block, is one that could help support the long-term goals for the vitality and development of the West End. And with any potential future redevelopment down the road, the more property owners that you have involved in that, the lower the likelihood of development happening at some point in the future, regardless of whether that's 10 or 20 years down the road. So knowing that the property was for sale, and if the village didn't buy it, someone else would, and we are already one of the property owners present on the block, reduces the disparate ownership.
Right. So we see this, and it's an acquisition of an asset, and we know there's great value within it and probably more value in the way that we might look at some alternatives for how to use it in the future. And that would, of course, become public information as the discussion continues. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
Trustee Gale?
Aye.
Trustee McGee?
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien?
Aye.
Trustee Peterson?
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up is public comments regarding matters not on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Good evening. Barbara Foreman, 567th. In a recent edition of The Patch, there was a headline. I don't have the exact wording of it right here, but the single word that stood out was, it was about Grange being delinquent. We are delinquent in our audit with our reporting, financial reporting to the state. And it's a little, so just here to say, it's a little surprising to me that an update about such an unfortunate situation was not included in today's agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Foreman.
John Pluto, East Avenue. What I want to talk about is the reconstruction outfall for the planned 50th Street sewer. I haven't heard any word that we've gotten our quarry litigation done yet. How could we this year be planning on reconstructing out the outfall if we don't have the okay from the quarry?
The court said we don't need their okay.
Well, if you're going to go over there and work over on their easement, I would think that you would have to have some type of credibility to go there and do it. It seems kind of like you're saying you're just going to do it. It hasn't been finalized. There's no conclusion in it yet. It's still in appeals, and that's been since June 7th, 2023. So let's not beat around the bush here. Let's get our ducks in a row. May 1st, Baxter and Woodman, Burke have to present another meeting, and it's going to be on this project because it says so in their contract. So I hope we have a meeting to talk about this flood control project, because I asked you about getting an informal meeting about a year ago, and you said Beth was going to be in charge of it, and we haven't had anything that the residents can come and talk back and forth without 3 minutes of limit. So I really think that you guys need to be a little bit more transparent with all of your subjects here, and I have to agree with Mrs. Foreman.
Thank you.
Of course, I agree with Mrs. Foreman. That's my job. An additional question, whether the village does this, I know I've seen it elsewhere. Grange Park publishes it. It's called a treasurer's report. And it's something I think that typically goes into local newspaper publications. And the valuable part of it, from my point of view, is it lists alphabetically all the payments made by vendors. So as you wrap up the audit, I guess I would ask to determine if the village is required to publish that treasurer's report. From my homework, it looks like we might need to, but as an example, if you take 2 minutes, look at LaGrange Park's website. They have a great little link called Transparency. You'll see year after year their treasury reports. That's the easiest way to see what they look like and determine if it's something that we need to catch up on. Thanks.
Thank you.
Jonathan Robinson, resident. I agree with Mrs. Foreman as well. It's disappointing to see that, you can't explain it. We're days away from that final deadline with an extension. But it just also goes to show that this is the third time I'm up here asking for some update on when the comprehensive plan will become the new zoning plan. It's a very simple request. You have the president's report. You have the village manager's report. Give me some idea of when it's coming, when it'll happen, when we'll be participating, all those kind of things. Basically, over the last 2 weeks, I've been going to these smaller subcommittee meetings and video recording. Those are posted online if you need them or want them for any reason. It is on YouTube under Eyes on LaGrange. Basically, the recording is there to increase community engagement, increase participation, and understand what some of these subcommittees are doing. It's been interesting to see how the system works, what it does, and where it goes. I made sure to take and summarize. There's a summary of all of those meetings in the video descriptions. So if you ever want to have a basic idea of what goes on in a community development meeting, those are there. I have asked again for some assistance with doing that. Again, it is my understanding and belief that recording all those meetings was a promise made when we bought this equipment by this board, and I have had no success in moving that idea forward. The last thing is my zoning provisions. Are you willing to have a discussion, or do you want to hear the speech? I have heard nothing back from the village president. It's obviously been 2 weeks since the last time I read him the email. Why I continue to go back to the village president is he is the one in control of the agenda. He's the one in control of the topics. And so in order to get on the agenda, that is my choice, or that's my only path. Like I say, all I'm truly trying to do is advocate for the people in my shoes in the past. When you guys voted on January 12th, my personal situation ended. The provisions have to do with not allowing large buildings as single-family homes. They're not retroactive. They're not going to do me any good whatsoever, I guess, until somebody puts a 5-story building on my south lot line, but it's not for me. I did not enjoy the experience. And all I'd truly like to do is help the next person that comes along. The goal is to, change what I didn't like. And we were making great progress, but I can't justify spending money for it when it shouldn't be, when I'm just trying to advocate for my community. I sent the email to all the trustees. My request is that somebody make a motion, somebody put it on the agenda. Somebody do something to assist me, and I don't need a certain answer, but I do need consideration, and I would like it to, be discussed and actually voted on. It can be voted no, I don't care, but there's no reason not to bring it up. There's no reason to explain to me. You have all the options in the world. To just ignore it is, you're discouraging anyone and everyone in this community from participating in this government, which is horrible. And so I just ask some trustee to help me out, to put something on the agenda to have a legitimate conversation so we can debate it. And it doesn't need to be everything that goes through. You have every response, every possibility to restrict what I can and can't do with that moving forward. You can move them forward yourselves without me. It doesn't matter, but something needs to keep going forward. I have petitions signed of 86, 126, 128, and 254 people. That's a lot of people. It's not just me standing here asking for these things. Recorded meetings is a lot. It's much bigger than me. You can dislike me, you can not appreciate my attitude, my tone, or whatever, but the community spoke, the Plan Commission spoke, that those are the right ways to go. So I really could use some assistance in this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, I will open it up for trustees' comments. We will be going into closed session. But first, any trustee comments? At this time, the village board intends to meet in closed session under section 2C1 of the, under section 2C1, 2C11, 2C21, and 2C2. 2C1 is of the Open Meetings Act to consider the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of public body. Under 2C11, for the purpose of discussing pending or probable litigation, and under section 2C21 to discuss minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, as well as under section 2C2. The village board will not reconvene in open session as no formal action will occur following the closed session. May I have a motion and a second to enter closed session?
I move we enter into closed session.
Second.
Do we need a roll call now? Roll call vote now? Please.
Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
Trustee Gale?
Aye.
Trustee McGee?
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien?
Aye.
Trustee Peterson?
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Do we need a motion to adjourn now, Ben? Or does that wait? Thank you.